For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Good evening and welcome to StratNews Global. I am Ankit. You may have come across my work as a producer for Simply Nitin. We haven't had a chance to meet formally. Tonight, I'm stepping in for Nitin, who couldn't be here. We are switching our usual format and bringing you a discussion from our annual event, India Defence Conclave. This discussion centers around the challenges and opportunities in the Indo-Pacific region. Join us for this informative conversation featuring Lieutenant General Greg Bilton, Chief of Joint Operations of the Australian Defence Forces, and Vice-Admiral Dinesh Tripathi, FOC in C of the Western Naval Command, India. This is Simply Nitin.
I think we couldn't have had a better spread of speakers for this session, talking about Indo-Pacific, Indian Ocean. So let me begin with you, General, and your Chief of Joint Operations, which indicates that you interact and deal with all the three forces in Australia itself. But more than that, I want to widen the scope of the discussion and ask you that in the Indo-Pacific is now the theatre which everybody is watching. Where we are going, how the collaborations are happening. So what are your thoughts on collaboration and cooperation between different countries or major stakeholders in the Indo-Pacific itself?
Yeah, so firstly, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and speak today. From my perspective, the strategic circumstances in our region in the Indo-Pacific have absolutely forced Australia to focus more closely here. We did have quite significant interest in the Middle East and contributing to operations for about 20 years through Afghanistan and Iraq, and there's been an absolute pivot to this region, and it's principally Chinese militarization of the region. It's Chinese expansionism, not just inside the first island chain, but now deep into Southeast Asia and into the Indian Ocean, and equally into the Southwest Pacific. So we've been quite closely focused on that. We're interested in how that's developed. We're also, frankly, deeply interested in working with partners to uphold the rules-based order. And I guess from an Australian perspective, we can't deter major powers on our own, but we absolutely believe the formula is to have trusted, transparent relationships with partners and allies that enable us to push back on bad behaviours where they occur. And that's what really fundamentally drives our strategy.
That's true, absolutely. Indo-Pacific, therefore, is the new focus, as I mentioned. Admiral Tripathi, you head the sword arm of the Indian Navy. You've been Director General Naval Operations, so you're aware. And recently you did meet General Bilton in Australia when you went there. From your perspective or from India's perspective, what is the focus or what should be the focus for India and Indian Navy in particular on the Indo-Pacific? And I'll come to the Indian Navy, the Indian Ocean part of it a little later. But Indo-Pacific, when you look at it large perspective, what should it be?
Thank you, Nitin. Can you hear me all? Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot, Nitin, first of all, for my maiden appearance in your show. It is like, all of you must have watched this famous comedy show, the Kapil Sharma show, and all the participants who are arriving there for the first time. I'm getting the same feeling, that you finally have arrived in your show. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you very much.
I think this is a great platform. First of all, I must compliment you, where, the users, the academia, the R&D people, the people who are making the arms and ammunition, including practitioners, strategists, and you get a good bouquet of personnel to come and participate, share their ideas for the larger good of everybody who is here. I want to take on, or rather take off from where General Shakatkar left, and he mentioned about this 70, 80, 90 rule. And it's because I'm a naval officer, it is largely for the maritime domain. There are two more things in that. That is 66 and 99. And the 66 is that it says that the 66% of global wealth comes from or near the coastal areas.
Absolutely.
And 99% of internet or data traffic actually pass from the undersea cables, which pass through the oceans, crisscrossing everybody, including Indo-Pacific region. So, having said that, Indo-Pacific is a huge area.
Absolutely.
And I want to just put some statistics to support my claim. It is home to 65% of world's population.
Sure.
It is also it almost contains 56 littoral states combined. If you add France and the British Indian Ocean territories, that makes 58 nations. And I'm talking of littoral nations, not the people who don't have the coastal areas. 6 continents, except one continent, which I'm talking about, which is not there. Both oceans combined cover 46% of Earth's surface area. 46% of Earth's surface area. And the Pacific Ocean itself is so huge that the whole land mass can actually fit into the Pacific Ocean. So that is the enormity of the area which we are talking about, Indo-Pacific. Indo-Pacific has got different connotations for different countries. We are very clear in India. Our Prime Minister has very clearly enunciated that for us it is from east coast of Africa to the west coast of continental US. In lateral vein, it is from Kilimanjaro to California and everything in between. So that is the enormity of the Indo-Pacific region. What it means for the Indian Navy is that we in the Indian Navy are very clear that we have got the capability and we have got the intent to deploy our forces wherever our national maritime interests take us. And we have demonstrated this time and again, whether it was during COVID, whether it was during any human evacuations from war-torn areas, whether it is deploying our ships to South China Sea and beyond, and up to continental US. You would remember last year on the Independence Day, we had 7 ships in all the continents on 15th August. So we are very clear in the Indian Navy that Indo-Pacific region is of great importance for our trade, for the world's trade, for the global commons, and all the policy intent which has been enunciated by our leaders are support this. That just to quote Dr. Jaishankar, that we don't want to grow alone. We want to take everybody and all to grow. So the Navy actually goes or is driven by the policy directives given by the government, and we are ready and should too.
That's excellent roundup of what Indo-Pacific is. The statistics are staggering. And in that context, India and Australia, of late for a decade or so, their bilateral defense cooperation has really gone several notches up. And as we can see, there are several aspects to it. Of course, Navy is the major part of it, but even the armies and the Air Force have also now jointly exercised in various settings. And what do you foresee going forward, because you're Chief of Joint Operations? What do you foresee the next step for India-Australia bilateral defense relationship?
Yeah, so firstly what I'd say is that our interests intersect initially in the Indian Ocean, and many people today have already talked about sea lines of communication, strategic trade routes. The logic is obvious, but it's where in the first instance our interests meet. It's where we do naval and maritime air activity together. I would argue we're at a point of our relationship where we deconflict and make each other aware of the activities we're doing, but we're not yet at a point where we coordinate our activities in the Indian Ocean and in other parts of the Indo-Pacific. My view is that there's an opportunity to perhaps start to coordinate our activity, leverage off the resources of both our nations to be able to achieve better levels of situational awareness. One of the key factors that has helped us deliver and grow the relationship in the way we have is the sharing of intelligence and information. And since November last year, my headquarters has provided 31 dossiers of intelligence relating to activities in the Indian Ocean through our defence attaché into the Indian military system. That's okay. I'd like to get to a point, though, where I could provide it directly to a operational headquarters, from one operational headquarters to the other. So I guess what I'm offering here is an opportunity to operationalise our relationship. We technically deconflict and we make each other aware of what we're doing. There's an opportunity here to get to a more sophisticated level. I think the appetite's there as well. And it's really about sharing transparency and sharing information and situational awareness that builds trust. And we've been doing that for a while. In each of the domains, we've exercised specifically to build tactical interoperability. What I would say is in the maritime domain, we're the most sophisticated. So our Oz-Index exercise, which is principally a naval exercise or a maritime exercise, in fact incorporates subsurface, surface and air operations, where we provide forces, P8s if you like, surface vessels, submarines, and we work together on exercise to build up that tactical interoperability. That is where we've reached the most sophisticated level in terms of comparable capability. And then in the land special forces space, and equally our air forces are growing at a similar rate, but they're not at the same level yet as we are in the maritime domain. Cyber and space also offers opportunities to further enhance our efforts together. So I think we've got a platform, it's rock solid, it's something to continue to launch from, and certainly my week here is about seeking opportunities to make our relationship more sophisticated as I've described. Thanks.
I think that's where it's very well put, that you have a platform, you need to build on it, and as you go forward, make it more sophisticated and make it maybe real-time actionable intelligence which can be put into action or can be acted upon, is what you're looking at going forward, is from what I can understand.
Yeah, so planned activity, but equally an ability to respond dynamically to changing circumstances. So once you've got tactical interoperability, it does give you the flexibility then to meet just by coincidence in a certain location, something's happening around you, and because we're familiar with each other, we can respond to that and act in a coordinated way together. It's very powerful, and it's a magnificent deterrent when you get it right.
Absolutely. In fact, Australia is at the other end of the Indian Ocean, and like you mentioned, for India, the Indo-Pacific is from east coast of Africa to the other side in the Western Pacific. Admiral Tripathi, you head, as I said at the beginning, the sword arm of the Indian Navy. As far as the Indian Ocean is concerned, I think if the Indian Navy can have full visibility on the Indian Ocean activities of all kinds, not just military but non-military and non-traditional security threats, and Australia can keep a watch on their area of operations, and if that can be combined, I think that would be a great way forward, roadmap ahead for the cooperation between the two countries.
Absolutely. Not only India and Australia, but all countries. But I just want to flag one issue that India-Australia relationship, and I'm talking of military domain because that is where we're talking this discussion. I think it's near peak. Can we rest on our laurels? No. I think there is much more to be done, and as brought out by the General, we are working towards that. You brought out, I was in the east coast of Australia, Sydney for Malabar, and we had many closed-door discussions. I just want to tell you the importance which India attaches to Australia. We had two ships all the way going to east coast of Australia, Sydney, and at the same time, one of our submarines from the west coast of India was at west coast of Australia, and that's what made an deployment of a submarine to Australia. So a lot of I would say dialogue is happening at various levels. from ministerial level down up to the operational and the tactical level. And I can only see that this relationship will go further and further and for the benefit of both countries. As far as the Indian Ocean per se is concerned, it is an important ocean. Many experts have predicted that the destinies or destiny of 21st century will be decided what happens in Indian Ocean. And I think what last 20 years have shown goes to prove at least some of it. We have still got 4/5 of the century to go ahead. But in 21st century, it is the Indian Ocean which will play the major role for simple reason that it is the geography which decides the entire world trade, the number of choke points which we have got, the kind of traffic which goes through, the shift in geopolitics, all that is happening here. And as is my want, I always say, and I've been saying for some years now, that what we are witnessing right now is that the geopolitics, technology, and in security domain, tactics, all are in a state of flux right now. And this is happening concurrently. And this is happening after a long time. I can't put a fix as to after how much, but all are in a state of flux at the same time. So we are indeed living in interesting times, and we'll have to wait and watch how the security situation unfolds in the Indo-Ocean region. As far as the Navy is concerned, I can tell you, Nitin, that Indian Navy is keeping a watch, very close watch as to what is happening. And we are partnering with all our friendly foreign countries because we do believe that the only way forward is cooperation through collaboration, consensus and communication. And that is what we're doing with all our partner countries, including Australia, because we also believe no one country has got the capacity and capability to keep the sea lines of ocean open at all times.
That's the convergence that we have spoken about right at the beginning, and I think it fits in very well with Bharat Shakti's theme right from the beginning, from 2016, where we started off with a line, cooperation and collaboration in the security domain. And that's why the core of the audience here has always been the foreign defense attaches. Today, about 75 or 74 of them from different countries in this region and outside this region are here. Obviously, there are lots of takeaways from what both of you said in terms of how one country cannot really secure the sea lanes of communication or even the vast expanse of Indo-Pacific. But thank you very much, both of you, for those insights and thoughts. And thank you for joining us at such short notice. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nitin.